Good morning. I wanted to make this little video to hopefully share with more people than just one, because I have more than one friend that I want to share this with. So I thought, for the sake of time, if I made this little clip, then hopefully who knows. My friends know I like to talk, so we'll see how it goes. The plan is for it to be short. So I just wanted to share, I started reading this book last night. It's called The 33 Laws of Stewardship, Principles for a Life of True Fulfillment. And I came across this paragraph, and this is what it says. It really struck me. It says, think of yourself as the manager of a trust. You have been given a key role and a great responsibility, so make the most of it. God Himself has entrusted you with time, money, material things, and great opportunities. Your objective is to maximize the investment of all that has been put into your hands. And I thought, wow, that's some real serious stuff there, and great responsibility. There's another part in this. I promise I won't read the whole book, but it's about John D. Rockefeller, and it says, he was very famous for oil, and it says he was the richest man in the world. In the early years of the 20th century, his businesses accounted for one of every $30 generated in the entire United States economy. In today's currency, that would be equal to a fortune 10 times greater than Bill Gates had amassed. When Rockefeller died in 1937, a newspaper artist drew a cartoon which posed the question, how much did he leave? The answer in the next panel said simply, he left it all. And that's the way it is for everyone. At the moment of death, every possession of this material life is left behind, even the bodies we once inhabited. Once the Spirit lives on, only the Spirit lives on, for only the Spirit is eternal. And I thought, wow, just, I feel like I'm always in this thing where I want to eat a little better and, do a little, because I want to preserve my time for my children and be healthy and be able to do the Lord's work as long as I possibly can. But some of those words just struck me. He left it all. And that's the reality of it. When we leave this earth, people don't like to talk about death. But ever since my sweet cousin's funeral, it just has put a different twist on day-to-day life. And just, I wasn't gonna cry. Just a reminder that life really is short, and we don't know when that last day is gonna be, and what do I want to leave behind. And it can, I think when I opened my Bible this morning, it was already actually open to the book of Ecclesiastes, and I wasn't quite sure. I have a Psalms and Proverbs plan that I try to get into and all that, but I was like, you know what, Ecclesiastes, that kind of goes along with what I was reading last night. So I just started, I like to do different things in the Bible. So sometimes I'll really dig deep in a passage, or I'll just really take one verse and pick it apart. And other times I'll just kind of skim over some chapters of it. And that's what I did today. I was just skimming over this, and it was this repetition over and over about how vain life is. Hi, Livy. Good morning. Hi. Go outside.
Olivia.
Go ahead. Go potty, love. It was just over and over. Ooh, that's my coffee. That was close. It was just over and over talking about the vanity of so many things, and talking about things that live on forever, Our generations go from one to another. The sun rises, the wind goes to the south and turns again to the north, and goes on continually and returns again. The rivers run into the sea, but the sea is never full. All things are full of labor. Man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. And it just goes on and on and on and on. And, talking about how we work for things, but then it can never be satisfied. This is, written, the preacher, the son of David, the king in Jerusalem. Okay. I made me great works. I builded me houses. I planted me vineyards. I made me gardens, orchards, and planted trees in them, all kinds of fruit. I made me pools of water. I got me servants, maidens, and servants born in my house, great possessions, great and small cattle, silver and gold, peculiar treasures of kings and provinces, singers and delights of son and men, musical instruments, and all these different things he lists. And these chapters go on and on like this, on and on. And you know what? He continues to say everything. It says, I should have written this down, but over and over he talks about how it's vanity. All is vanity and vexation of spirit. So I'm like, okay, what is vanity? Okay, that's useless, emptiness. Okay. And I did this just kind of overview just in what I was seeing. Things that are not important. Stuff is vanity. Wisdom, just because, is vanity. Seasons come and go, and there's one for everything. There's a season for everything. A wise child is greater than a foolish king. Laboring for stuff and wisdom is useless. But relationships are important. They're warming. You can work together. You can help each other in a time of need. You can protect each other, and you can work together to fight the enemy. Isn't that wonderful? And this is all coming from someone who had everything and could do anything he wanted. That's just so amazing. Okay, so back to this word vexation. I'm like, okay, vexation. This says it over and over. I want to know exactly what this word means. So I looked this up in my trusty concordance. Most of you know this big old book that I like to, has every word in the Bible, in the concordance, in the King James Bible. This goes along with the King James. You read whatever version is useful for you and the one that you can understand and learn of who God is. But this is what I use to study because I love this concordance. So I look up the word vexation, and it gives the Greek and Hebrew, whichever language, New Testament Greek, Old Testament Hebrew, and it has the whole dictionary of the all the words that are in each of these languages. So you can look up the word and then go to the back and look up, I don't even know why I'm saying all this. Anyway, the Hebrew word for vexation, there's two words that are used for this throughout this passage in Ecclesiastes. Okay, and I'll just give you the numbers because I don't. Reuth, it looks like, is how you say the one, and Rio is how you say the other. Okay, so the one means feeding upon or grasping after. Okay, so it says vexation of spirit. And then the other one means desire. Okay, so desire of spirit or feeding upon or grasping after. So all these things that he's talked about is just your spirit is grasping after these things and seeking after and desiring these things that are really nothing at the end of the day. They mean nothing. They come up to nothing. They're going to amount to nothing at the end of the day. So then both of those words come from a word that I didn't write the word down, but it's number 7462. Okay. And when I look that word up, this is like the root word of both of those words that are used throughout this passage. And the root word The definition is to tend a flock or pasture, keep company with, wander or waste. Okay, so all these things that are mentioned, all these things that are talked about are things in our spirit and in our mind. If we're not focused on Christ and we're not keeping our eyes and our mind and our thoughts and everything that we're doing focused on Him, we're attending a flock that has nothing to do with anything that's gonna mean anything at the end of the day. And you know, these passages in Ecclesiastes, I remember when I would get to these in Bible reading, I would be like, oh, I'm in Ecclesiastes, and I would feel like kind of sorry for myself, because it's like, oh, this is vanity. Oh, I tried this and it's vanity. Oh, it's all vanity. But you know what? Today, I'm just so encouraged. I'm just so encouraged reading this stuff, because it helps me remember more and more, and I'm going to maybe cry again, because it just makes the love of Jesus so much sweeter. Our Lord doesn't want us to get caught up with things that we can't take with us. He doesn't want us to be focused on things that we can't take with us. He wants us to focus on the relationship with Him and those relationships with other people, because that's what's important in life. All these things, all this stuff, all these, you know, so many things that we can just get caught up with. These shepherds or these flocks and pastures that we have to tend. You know, I think of stuff in my house. I'll just personalize it here real quick. You know, my friends know I like to throw stuff out. You know, and I heard somebody say, one of my people I follow on this, and they broke it down and they said, if you have to wipe this is just kind of silly in a way, but they said, if you spend they did this thing where they said, if you spend 3 seconds wiping down your toaster every day, like, it was so long at the end of the year. I forget how long it was at the end of the year. And I was just like, wow, it made me not want to. We have a toaster now. That's a long story. If you know me, you'll know the reason why we didn't have a toaster for probably 15 years or maybe 10 years it was. But either way, you know, all these things that we put our focus on, whether it be social media, whether it be, you know, just anything in our life, a job, we know that we have to, you know, some people have to work to, you know, be able to live and all those kinds of things. And I'm not being judgmental at all here, but I'm just saying, wow, what a wonderful God we serve, who wants the relationship first and foremost, and wants us to be careful with what we do, what we take on, the things that we put our minds on, the things that we put our hands to. You know, what am I doing with my hands? What am I spending my time doing? Who am I serving? What am I doing with my life? You know, and so many of these words in Ecclesiastes, like I said, they're coming from someone who had everything. Someone who could have done anything that he wanted. I want to heed the warning. You know, I want to be careful with what I'm doing, and go above and beyond and use those resources like this book said. You know, God's given us time. He's given us, I wrote it down here in my journal. He's given us money, material things, and opportunities. And I want to maximize the investment that He's put in my hands. So let's go today, doing the best we can for Jesus. He loves us. He cares about us. He cares about every little detail, not because He wants us to just feel guilty or live under condemnation. You know, Romans 8:1 speaks strictly against living in condemnation, but He wants us to grow in Him because He loves us, and He wants us to grow our relationship with Him. And I'm so thankful for that. You know, they said America is like, we're like the biggest consumers. You know, we're like, we have the most out of every country, and we desire the most out of every country. And that was from that book I was just reading. And that, it looks kind of like an older book, but I don't know. That's okay. I don't care. I do care, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, there's such good stuff in there, and I just want to be focused on Jesus most of all, and what he wants for me and what he wants me to do. So anyway, you all have a blessed day. Let's keep our eyes and hearts focused on the Lord and what he would have for us. Doodles!